and gentlemen, I'd like to start off by telling you a story. The setting is the Indian subcontinent, and it's in strife. The populace are going to arms against the government because they believe that the government is not addressing their real issues and is the puppet of foreign masters. Instead of addressing these issues, they just continue to strike back with military action against the people, not resolving the problem, but merely trying to attack the symptoms of these underlying causes of lack of education, of disillusionment with the government's treatment of religion, and with the lack of development and oppressive poverty throughout. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not talking about today, though you might believe that right now. I'm actually talking about 1857, just before the Sepoy Rebellion. And ladies and gentlemen, the British Empire chose to strike back against India instead of resolving the fundamental problems. This led to the current Pakistan-India division and all of the problems that have come from it. Ladies and gentlemen, for the past century and a half, the government has been trying to attack merely the symptoms and eliminate troublemakers instead of attacking why they are rising. Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm here to tell you we need to treat the underlying disease instead of merely touching the symptoms. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Herbert said that their plan would eliminate terrorists and that we need to do this. And yes, we do need to get rid of extremists and militants. However, their plan of striking back with force just will not do this. According to the Counterterrorism Strategy Initiative, U.S. drone strikes don't seem to have any great effect on the Taliban's ability to recruit. Ladies and gentlemen, striking at the people, at the extremists, isn't stopping them from rising up against Pakistan, from rising up against us. In fact, it's merely eliminating single threats. And in fact, Mr. Hessler mentioned in his speech 4 specific terrorists that we managed to strike. However, according to Daniel L. Byman of the Saban Center for Middle Eastern Policy, in killing those 4 terrorists, we probably killed on average 40 innocent civilians. Ladies and gentlemen, that is unacceptable. We cannot merely use blunt strikes against symptoms, ignoring the fundamental causes and causing death and resentment throughout Pakistan. But if military strikes won't resolve this problem, what will? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that would be development. Ms. X told you about Pakistani fear of the militants. However, according to Operation Freedom think tank's recent Pakistani National Opinion Survey, 74% of the Pakistani people consider the Pakistani military as the biggest threat to their safety and security. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe they are worried about these extremists, but they're more worried about the Pakistani military itself. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to resolve these issues instead of merely attacking vast things. In fact, Mr. Hessler told you that 80% of the people in this room, assuming 180 people in this room, might be too afraid to have come here today. However, according to the UN's Human Development Index, half of the people in this room, 50% of the people in this room, would be illiterate and unable to read the signs on the doors and tell which way to vote. Democracy and freedom depend on literacy and education, and quite frankly, the Pakistani people at this time do not have it to a sufficient degree. Well, Ms. X brought up 9/11, and I think it's very important that she did. We need to stop attacks like this from happening, very crucially. However, according to poli-sci researcher Jessica Stern of Harvard University, if the United States does not devote a much higher priority to education and economic development abroad, new Osamas will continue to rise. Ladies and gentlemen, it's educational and infrastructure development that will help stop 9/11 from happening again. Not merely responding to violence with a cycle of violence. I've read the Oristyle. That is never going to resolve it. In fact, President Bill Clinton said, "The forces of reaction feed on poverty and despair, so we must spread prosperity to all." Ladies and gentlemen, this is what our plan is all about. Pakistan's economy is not so great right now. According to Saeed Chaudhry, a Pakistani economist, basic foodstuffs are so expensive and scarce that people queue for hours at stores just to secure a small discount. And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Right now, the inflation rate in Pakistan is not that bad. It is around 4 or 5%. However, that is for the economy as a whole. If we look at a crucial sector, food, something that everyone needs to survive, the inflation rate is in the double digits in 2008. Ladies and gentlemen, people need to be able to afford food. If they can't, they will continue to rise up. We need to create security and economic development so that they will not rise up against us. According to Faz Mohammadi, a Pakistani entrepreneur, Pakistan's economic success in the past few years has benefited only the elite. The poor man has simply become poorer. The economic successes in Pakistan have not addressed the common people, and these are the people who are rising up and turning to extremism and militancy because it is the only option. This is what we need to resolve, not resort to strikes and terror of our own. Let's talk specifically about education, because education is, in my opinion, one of the most crucial issues here. According to Austin Klein, a theology MA specializing in Buddhism, Islam, and Hinduism, in order to combat extremism, the United States must invest heavily in the infrastructure of education, not just the democratic institutions. You need education to be able to make these democratic institutions work. For the things already in place, the voting rights, the vibrant and growing democracy to work, we need to spread education. It is the fundamental prerequisite to having a democracy. According to Pakistani National Education Policy of 2009, the Pakistani government's own policy, the government's current spending on education, 2.7% of gross domestic product, is far from adequate. Ladies and gentlemen, instead of spending our money on attacking these people and driving them further into the arms of extremism, we can help lift them out of this dire situation. We can help the people. We can secure their goals, their futures, and in doing so, secure our safe and secure future for Americans here as well. To quote Sam Seaborn, Deputy Director of Communications on the prominent show, The West Wing, education is the silver bullet. Education is everything. It can resolve crime, poverty, and disillusionment with the government. So ladies and gentlemen, I say, let's focus on these issues. Let's focus on educating the populace and making sure they can secure a true life for themselves, free from extremism. And ladies and gentlemen, the only way to do this isn't to respond to violence with violence, but to respond with development and to aid the populace. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. X said we needed to treat the situation right now with extremists. And ladies and gentlemen, that is so true. I couldn't have said it better myself. However, the opposition's plan does not treat the issues. It merely addresses symptoms, and ineffectually at that. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to respond to the underlying diseases that are inflicting these harsh responses from the Pakistani people. So ladies and gentlemen, let us not continue to use the same plan that has been being used for the past century and a half in the Indian subcontinent. Let us respond to the real issues today. Today we can make a difference, and the only way we can do this is by encouraging the Pakistani people to improve their lives and to not resort to extremism and terrorism. The only way you can do that is by walking out the condor at the end of today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I'd like to thank the CON team for their speech, but in regards to education, your argument stresses the importance of treating the disease and not the symptoms. And you argue that we must do this by developing Pakistan. How do you propose that we develop a country that contains militants who dedicate themselves to preventing and crushing any glimpse of development without crushing these militants first?
That is an important question, and I thank you, Ms. Tribby, for bringing that up. However, quite frankly, the Pakistani people are not against improving the lives of Pakistan. They're against being used and abused by foreign powers who only look at Pakistan and other areas for their own interests. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what this plan encourages us to do. Instead of looking at the long-term future, we'd merely be looking at a short-term solution to kill anyone who stood against us and try to use violence to suppress anything we didn't like. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd be proving the extremists right. So instead, our plan tries to aid their goals, which would actually aid our goals. And ladies and gentlemen, even if we would have issues, even if, which not a single piece of research has been brought up today to say that the Pakistani militants would strike against improving their own lives, then at least we'd have a chance of fixing a few lives, of improving the situation for a few, instead of merely resorting to further and further destruction of Pakistani livelihood, future, and security.